Welcome to my channel. I am Christy. This is a disaster. Don't mind the mess. Anyways, it's great to see you if you're returning, and if you are new, I am in northern Alberta, Canada, growing zone 2B. I have a flower farm and a homestead where I raise the majority of our own food. So today I thought I would take you along to see some progress of what's happening around the farm, what I have planted, what's growing. My target here is to have Mother's Day blooms, and Mother's Day is like less than 2 weeks away for me because I have to have everything harvested and at the florist in time to be ready to make into arrangements. So I don't grow and make bouquets myself. I am only growing to supply florists. My primary one is in Manning, Alberta, Canada. And so the business is called The Nest, and that's where I grow the majority of my stems for. And so I thought I would just take you along and show you what is growing and what's blooming right now, what I'm harvesting and the progress. I will warn you, it is a little noisy, a little windy, a little smoky. We are in a heat wave kind of thing. We've never really experienced weather like this in April going into May. So it's a little bizarre. I am struggling keeping the ranunculus from dying back because we hit over 30 degrees Celsius in the greenhouse yesterday, and I've been trying very hard to keep them cool so I don't lose those buds that are gearing up to bloom for Mother's Day. So it's been a little bit nerve-wracking around the farm, but we'll go check it out, and I'll probably just do some voiceover so you can actually hear me. So we'll see you back here in a bit. Okay, so the first thing I'll show you is some of the yarrow that I planted 10 days ago, I think it is, something like that. So this stuff I planted, about 10 days ago. I put it under row cover and it's doing really good. I'm hoping this is all gonna perennialize very well. I had some planted in here last season that I actually cut from, and it's coming back beautifully. Where is it? Yeah, this stuff here. That was from last season. I also have some, besides the yarrow, I actually did plant in some feverfew. And it's doing all right, so. Hello. Oh, it's a belly scratch. Yeah. Sleepy girl. Actually did a little bit of planting yesterday and a couple days before that. The days are they're a blur together, so I don't know. But this you haven't seen yet, I don't think. So over here we have lilies. This side is all calla lilies. I have the black ones, and then those are called, I think, paintbrush or airbrush, sorry. We have white ones here and red ones. Red, I think they're red alert. So this will all be callas. And then over here, I planted some brassicas. Now, I planted them very close together. I don't know what's what. Some of them are cabbage, some of them are kohlrabi, and I know I'm gonna be transplanting some of these. So they just went in, they needed to go in really, really badly because they were in the greenhouse in trays and it was way too hot. So that's what I did. Some of them will be okay, we'll get smaller heads. I'll probably, if some of these are cabbage, I'll probably take the middle ones, harvest them young, and then let the outer ones grow, but they needed out. So basically in my retaining wall, I haven't gotten anything done yet. These are actually liatris that I have to cut back, and this is delphinium, and I need to kind of clean up my little delphinium bed here. It's just a tiny little section, but it sure produces heavily. And then this is perennial yarrow that's coming back from last season, and I'm really looking forward to having some earlier stems of that as well. I do have tons of work to do outside. It's just actually, the snow just melted this week. And then we went from having snow to like basically plus 25 and 27 degrees Celsius. There's really no progress here for my daffodils outside. However, I do have daffodils inside, and I still have this all covered in. I'm not working on any of this yet because I want to retain as much moisture as I possibly can, because we're in like a really hot, dry period. I am going to start planting in here. I don't know what I'm going to put in here yet, whatnot. We have tulips here. If you recall, last fall, we planted like, I think there's about 1,500 or 1,800 tulips in these two beds. And then there's more over there, but there's nothing coming up yet. It's just very, 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 very dormant, and it's very dry, so I'm giving it some water. Lilies haven't done anything yet. The chickens have been in there because those big ants are out, and then I still have to do my other beds. But let's go take a look and see what's going on inside. It's really loud in the greenhouse because it's venting, and so I'm just going to do a voiceover from here on out. So these are snapdragons, and they're starting to get little heads on them. We're hoping to get a few of them at least for Mother's Day. Over here is the flowering kale that I had planted really, really early, and as you can see, it's starting to get some size on it. It is losing its bright, vibrant color because it's been super warm, and flowering kale gets its deep, rich colors when it's cooler. I also potted up some of my sedum here. This is perennials that I had gotten in that unboxing video from Van Noort. I also have some honeywort that's starting to kind of fill in a little bit nicer and get a little bit bushier, more size on it. And I also have some bunny tails and more snapdragons over here, and then some stock. These guys are just not doing very well over here. I think it was the cold weather stunted them. Some more snapdragons, and just more potted plants. I believe these guys are the phlox, the perennial phlox that I had potted, and trying to get it a head start. Now this yarrow down here is, I transplanted it from outside in the fall, and look at how big it is. This thing is going to be flowering really early, and then that is the spring planted stuff next to it. And these are Queen Anne's lace, I believe, is what that is. And then we have Nigella starting to get a little bit of a head on there, which is awesome. I have some potted tulips. I think I mislabeled these. It says it's supposed to be red dress, but they are not. So it's a mystery. Unless they turn vibrant red later, they're not the right color. But I've been harvesting them anyways. These are some hot cake stock and some marigolds. I had the cocoa ones and then the white swan ones. I ended up pulling that tulip and taking it into my florist with the other flowers earlier that I had harvested, or later that I had harvested. And these are soapwort. They are kind of like an early filler, bouquet filler. They're pink. I've not grown them before, but I have them interplanted with garlic that was fall planted, and it all seems to be doing really well. This is some status that's starting to take off much better. Very excited for that. These guys are planted really close together, and that's okay. I prefer them planted very densely. This is a second succession of flowering kale, and it's looking really, really good. Over here, yeah, the garlic is just doing very well. This was planted in the fall in here, and it got a really good head start. Now this is a volunteer tomato and volunteer mystery something, don't know. And then these are the hanging baskets of sweet peas that they don't seem to be growing really well, but they're growing nonetheless. So we'll see if we get any blooms off them. Now I have Clarkia as well as Tweedia planted here. The Clarkia is starting to bud up. I've already pinched it back, so I will leave it. And this is basically Sweet William or carnations, dianthus. These are all carnations and dianthus throughout this little bit of a row. And phlox. This is an annual phlox. I know this is painful to watch, but we have to do it. We have to pinch it. Otherwise, we're just not going to get what we need out of them. And this is frosted explosion grass or something like that. It's a filler. It has a nice little sparkle. I really love using this in bouquets because it just adds movement and just something a little bit whimsical. I really, really like adding that as some texture. Now these were an experiment and I'm really glad they're on target. I started these sunflowers to make miniature sunflowers for teacup arrangements for Mother's Day, or fishbowl arrangements for Mother's Day, and we're on track, we're on target. I will probably be beginning harvest of these this week, late this week, next week, early next week, and that was exactly what I was hoping for, so I'm really impressed that it worked. And some beautiful anemone. These guys are, the red ones are just going for it. It's a mix, but they are just really, really stunning. I've noticed they're starting to push up multiple buds, and I'm loving this purple color. I think it's just so cute and moody. I love it. So I love these bright pops of color. So far, it's been really nice working in here and seeing all of these beautiful blooms. And today's May 1st, so as you can tell, it's really thriving in here. And not too bad for zone 2B, where our last frost date is usually May 25th. So anyway, moving down the line, these are all ranunculus. There's like 1,000 of them planted here. The temperature is pretty warm. It's 20 degrees in here, which is not really ideal. I do have some shading up I've hung these sheets up to prevent the sun from beating down on my ranuncs. And I've just been hosing it down. And this stuff, what is it? I can't even remember. The euphorbia is blooming, which we got to pinch that off because I want it to branch, not bloom. I think it's like Frosted Mountain or something. And then the other stuff is Scabiosa. That's the name. More ranunculus. Oh, there's ranunculus buds. And I'm doing everything I can to not lose these buds in this heat. I'm counting on this crop for Mother's Day, and I really need this to work. There's a lot of money invested in ranunculus. This guy is at the marshmallow stage. I could probably start harvesting them, but the stems are like 3.5, 4 inches long, which is not really helpful. So I'm hoping to let them open just a little bit more so we can use them and then harvest them, hoping they'll branch. My stock, this is all hotcake stock. Now these guys, we're going to be pulling a lot of them and using them in teacup arrangements for Mother's Day because they are on the short side. I do tend to like to cut this variety. And when I cut the variety, it actually branches and then it gets taller. So it's just this with this particular variety. And usually I get a second flush later in the season. I did notice that there is some issues with my soil. Some of them aren't doing very good. And then this is a spring planting of yarrow. I want it to perennialize. We have more stock. This stuff is really short. And it smells beautiful. Like it smells amazing in the greenhouse with these guys in here, but they are too short. I'm hoping after a couple of days of this heat, they will get another inch or two, and we will use them for Mother's Day teacup arrangements with my florist. Now this is verbena. It's a different verbena than I grew last year. It is like a multicolor, kind of like a berry color. I can't remember the variety of it, but I'm really looking forward to having that in my lineup. And this is Nigella. I'm really stoked to have that as well. I love Nigella. And then Dara, we have lots of Dara this year. I have a whole bunch started in the house as well to go out in the field, but it's still just a little bit too early for me to plant it out. And then I have Lisianthus for days and days. And I have some issues with my Lisianthus. I have some dieback. This is some Sweet Annie. I've pinched it. And then I have some issues with my this is Bells of Ireland. I'm having a hard time with the temperature in that back wall and the dryness. It's just getting dried out so much. And just Lisianthus. This whole side is all Lisianthus. I think in total Lisianthus, I think on the farm I have 1,400 growing. I have some inside, outside. I have some hardening off to go outside. So there's quite a bit. These guys, some of them are rosetting and they came like that. I have tomatoes growing in the... There's volunteer tomatoes everywhere. They're everywhere. I should have done a better job picking up the tomatoes instead of letting it go to seed. Them seed themselves. But this is also, I think that's Queen Anne's lace or Dara, or I don't know what it was. The daffodils are sporadic. Now, I thought that for sure by now we would have a ton, but we don't. This is some of that palomino mushroom, which means that my soil is doing good things and it's not as toxic as it used to be. The heat is making the flowers bud up and bloom prematurely, which is not ideal. I wanted longer stems. This is sunballs or Crispedia. Some of you call it sunball. I call it sunballs. My florist calls them billy balls. So yeah, this is a lot of growth has gone on. I've been harvesting and taking stuff in. We'll go see what's behind the greenhouse. This actually works really well. Little screen. Tyson cut the netting from our old trampoline to make a doorway to keep the chickens and the cats and the dogs out and allow this to vent a little bit more efficiently. I've been having to water back here as well because it's been super dry. Oh, look, buds. Yes. Those are the Saskatoon bushes, by the way. So back here we have lilies, irises, and ranunculus. But this bed here is the lily bed. I actually shared this in a video, planting this up in a video. I can link that down below if you miss seeing that, how I plant them. And then I also planted, these are the irises, the butter and sugar irises are like a really pretty yellow color, and more of these lilies. I was so concerned because the chickens got on there and they were scratching, and I was a little worried because I thought that they may have gotten broken off, but I see more of them have come up. It gets so dry because of that fan venting all day, so I have to drag the hose back here quite a bit and give these guys a good soak. But it's been nice. I haven't been too worried about the temperatures. I did have them covered, and we've had really good nighttime temperatures where it hasn't been freezing, so I've been leaving them uncovered, and so far so good. These are the ranunculus that I planted. I also kind of had that in a video as well, talking about that and showing what stage I like to plant them in. But they're starting to come up, which is very exciting. I cannot wait to have beds and beds and beds of ranunculus. So I think total I have 2,400 ranunculus corms growing on the farm, give or take. I'm not 100% sure exactly, but it's a guesstimate. Over on this side of the greenhouse, I had planted a stilby last spring. Yeah, last spring. And I'm not sure if it overwintered very well. I'm hoping. But we did a lot of walking on it because of the snow removal. I had a brain malfunction on the planning of that. So I might actually end up moving them if they did survive. We'll see. And over here, if you recall, I installed spores for wine cap mushrooms, and they did bloom last year, and I just wanted to see how they're doing. It looks like there are still some spores that it's not really moldy or anything. It looks like they're growing still, and I'm really excited. In here I have it's a trap. In here I have a bunch of the extra perennials, and then these are some feverfew, and these are some of my yarrow and other things that I potted up for some clients and people who are looking for some perennials for projects. And yeah, these ones are the extra lilies that I didn't plant. And then this is the sixth session of lilies that I'm forcing in crates. These will be planted out in the fall into a location to perennialize, probably inside the greenhouse once I get a bed cleared, to get some earlier lilies and whatnot. But I'm looking forward to seeing these in people's yards. The potted ones are going to be sold and to people in the community. And like this greenhouse is a disaster. I'd like to use it instead of the shop for potting. Over here I have a lot of perennials planted. We did last year. This is actually a 2 or 3 year old raspberry bush. It had produced really late into the fall. I'd never seen a raspberry produce berries way into October like that, and it did really well. These are my hydrangeas, and they don't look really good on the tips, but there is some green in there, so there's some life. I'm gonna cut these back and hope for the best. They really did get blasted with negative 55 degrees Celsius wind chills over the winter for like a week on end. So I'm holding my breath for those. This is dogwood. It's a variegated leaf. So it's like an ivory and a chartreuse green kind of variegated leaf. And it is alive. It's nice and green and pliable. So I'm very excited to have those. Hopefully those will be growing and leafing out soon. Now this is I believe this bed is mostly tulips. Gosh, we've planted thousands of tulips, and look, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. We have tulips coming up. They're popping up. Unbelievable. It is May 1st and we have tulips. This is like so unheard of in our zone. Usually I don't get tulips till mid-June. So very happy about that. Over here I have some garlic that was fall planted, and there's nothing coming up for that yet, but I'm hopeful. This is the second big ginormous bed of tulips and daffodils, and I can see that the chickens were scratching, and they scratched up some of the daffodils that are trying to come up. So that's promising that they're trying to push their way through. Now I just need to get the chickens out of here and make sure they don't scratch them up anymore. So this is actually just a refresher of what it looked like. The photo here is of what it looked like under when I was planting each of these rows. So I think in total there's like 6,500 total bulbs that got planted last fall. This tree is alive. So excited. It looked more green in person than it did on the camera. This one is completely dead. These are both apple trees. So this one I was hoping, but no. It was struggling last fall, and we had too cold of weather, and it just did it in. We have a few other updates. The guinea fowl started laying eggs, which is super exciting because they started actually laying the eggs inside of the chicken coop. So we'll just go see what's in there for eggs, and I'll show you. So the little tiny egg that is like a funny shape on the right, that is a guinea egg. The rest are all chicken eggs. We'll just let them finish laying their eggs. They're really annoyed that I'm bothering them, so I probably would be too. I probably would have a protest if someone put their hand under my backside too when I was trying to pop out an egg. One more thing I totally forgot to show you. I'm hardening off seeds and I'll show you what I've come up with. Chicken proof. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Too hot for chickens. Heat waves in April. Hi there and welcome to Absolute Chaos. Whoops. Okay. Hey guys, so I thought I would jump on here and share another perennial that I really like for our growing zone. It's called liatris, and they're super hardy, and even though they're not typically rated for our zone, they do phenomenally well here for me in all situations. So I find that they're just super hardy and I really like them, as well as so do the pollinators, especially later in the fall. So this is what they look like. They're just kind of this funky looking little thing, and the roots part goes down obviously, and then usually you don't have the growth points started on them already, but they just go into the ground. I mulch mine over a little bit and they just grow and grow and grow and grow. I find in our zone, like there's different colors. There's white, and then which is more preferred for florists, and that's what these are white. And then there are the purple varieties. They make a beautiful fresh cut flower, but they also do really great dried. And so I recommend, for our climate, I definitely recommend the purple, just because they seem a little bit hardier. They didn't get so stressed out from the heat or drought that we had, or the neglect that I put on them. They handled the neglect a little bit better than the white ones. But all in all, I think that either the white or the purple varieties of, I think it's Blazing Star, I'm not sure. You can find them pretty much anywhere at any box store, basically. And I think you could probably find them online, but liatris. They're really cool flowers. And I think that if you have like some place where you're not going to be able to monitor, water it, those kind of things, if you are looking for a corner to fill it up beautifully, mass plant them like with a whole bunch of them, and it'll just be this beautiful display. And they have kind of like this woody look. They're very whimsical looking, and they're one of my favorites. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.